Well, hi there, friends. I am here today sharing with you a very fun and interactive kind of sort of a project. I'm going to be working on my niece's journal where I will be documenting her wedding that just happened this past weekend. I'm just kind of briefly showing you some of the products that I will be using and some of the materials and the tools. I have selected a lot of the Maggie Holmes paper pads and embellishments to work on this specific layout. I'm hoping to be able to continue that same theme throughout the entire journal. So I'm just kind of quickly showing you here just a little bit of the preparation before I get started with this fun and interactive little project. So I hope you enjoy it. So I kind of quickly wanted to show you how I created my heart template. It should be fairly easy. Don't worry if you feel like this is something that you need to know how to draw, because you really don't. I'm gonna show you straight from the very beginning without using any using this template. So I just folded just a piece of paper in half. I knew this was going to be tall enough to go inside my little journal, and I also knew that it was going to be wide enough. So if you want to measure kind of the area where your heart is going to go, you can kind of use a technique like this. So I'm going to put the paper inside and kind of mark how wide, which you could just measure, but I'm just going to roughly mark the area there. And so I kind of know, my perimeters of where the heart needs to stay. And I just, just not careful at all, just sketch my heart like this. And I can always do adjustments. If you have a heart already somewhere, you can obviously use that as a template as well. And then I'm just gonna cut with my scissors. Now, a good tip is always to cut bigger. That way, in case you need to make any adjustments, you have room to cut smaller. And there's my heart. You can always make it, this loop right here could be smaller if you wanted that. So this is my journal that I will be using to create or document, I should say, my niece's wedding. You saw a couple of the photos. You can replace, obviously, the photos with, let's say, a quote if you wanted to work on a quote, or but mainly because, we're all documenters and we want to do creative, pages where we can showcase our photos. This would be a great technique, again, to document any special events that you might want to work on. So as you can kind of see here, my heart fits pretty much exactly within the perimeters. Maybe this side a little bit, I might have it a little crooked, but I think I want it a little bit smaller. So this is why I said that it's always best to go cut larger so that you can go smaller if you need to. I'm gonna try and make this part of the heart not as high. Sometimes looking at the lines that I've drawn throws me off. So again, this is just eyeballing it. You can keep making adjustments as you go. So there it is. I know I have an idea of what I'm going to be working towards. So I still want it a little bit smaller because I'm going to be adding some flowers. It's always good to have a sketch. You can sketch out your design ahead of time, so you can kind of know which direction your artwork or your page is going. That's a little better. The other thing is I know I'm going to be using a photo within the heart. So there it is. I think that looks great. Now that I have my template, I will be using it on the pattern paper and just using my pencil and just kind of tracing an outline, and then I'll be using that to cut it. So this is the beautiful paper that I've decided to use for the heart. Because it has a little edge around it, I've decided to cut that out so that my hearts will fit exactly within that color and take the edge off. So you will see me cutting the little designer strip, I think that's what they call that. And I'm going to be removing just a little bit of the edges so that I just have the pattern itself. Because this is such a beautiful design, it works so perfectly with the heart. You can fit 2 hearts per 12 by 12 sheet. So if you use it in a corner like I'm doing here, and then I flip it over, and then both hearts should be exactly the same. But I will show you a little technique here in a minute. Because I had a white background, it was kind of hard for me to see where the edge of the paper was, so I used the darker paper that I will be using, just so that I can kind of see where I'm where I'm drawing. So another technique here to be able to cut 2 exact hearts, I decided to fold the paper in half. So instead of cutting each heart one at a time, I folded the paper, the 12 by 12. It's a little less than 12 by 12 by now. And then both hearts should line up perfectly, one on top of the other one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut around. It's kind of important to have the hearts match, because as you will see as I get working on the layout, they will be, it's almost like a reflection of each other. And look, even when I was very careful to try to match them, the hearts didn't line up. But because I folded the paper in half and cut them, both of them at the same time, now I have made sure that both my hearts will be almost identical. Obviously, I'm doing it by hand, so there might be a little bit of discrepancies, but it's no big deal. So my hearts are gonna go in the middle of 2 pages, actually 3 pages, as you can see there. I'm actually gonna be using one piece of, or one sheet in the middle to glue both of the hearts. Because this photo was taken towards the middle of the wedding, actually after the ceremony, I have left a few pages blank on the front of the journal where I will be working on, you know, the beginning of the trip and the wedding and all the preparation. So that's why you see me flip through kind of towards the middle of the journal rather than working on the very first page. So there is the left, the right, and then 1 page in the middle. And now, does it make sense what I'm working towards? I will be gluing the hearts, 2 halves of the hearts in the center page, and that will give me the other half of the heart to attach to the left and the right side. I'm going to be adding a little bit of glue only on the top, not on all the way around the heart, because sometimes you need to make adjustments, and if you put a lot of glue and you are ready to go, it's kind of harder if you need to move your heart or anything that you're gluing on. So sometimes I start by adding only a little bit of glue until I've made sure that everything is the way I want it. So this is kind of how I cheated to line up. Can you see me pointing? I can see exactly where the tip of the heart behind is, so that I can attach this other piece. Sometimes watching makes more sense than me explaining it to you, but does that make sense there? So now I'm gonna go around with my little tiny scissors, and this kind of takes a long time, but I've fast forward and edited some of the parts out, but it makes sense that all I'm doing is cutting around that white paper left around the heart. Now, one tip that I have here, because I am cutting parts of this page out, especially the top and the bottom, the matching page on the other side might look like it's going to fall off, but don't worry, it won't, because the center of the heart is actually attached. So if you were to flip the journal and find the other side of that page that I cut, it's still very securely attached to the journal. So you saw my background paper there. I just went ahead and trimmed the pages to match the size of the journal. And I'm going to round the corners because this little journal, all the pages have rounded corners on the edges, and it just makes sense to make them match. It is a beautiful contrast of that light heart against the darker, more busy pattern paper. I think it's just so beautiful. And as you saw the photos, there is purple. The more prominent color is purple. And so it is a very colorful wedding because there's a lot of colors. So I don't mind. I think it's going to make the documenting all these photos perfect because the photos are colorful, and so therefore my paper is also colorful. So now I'm going to attach the other side of the hearts to the purple, or I should say the dark green black background. So always close your book, fold everything to make sure that everything, will fold and open easily and nothing is going to move. I'm going to move on to the photos now and the layering because that's the fun part, all the embellishment. I should tell you, I decided on this semi light color background for my first layer on the photos, but I do end up changing it. I found as I was going through all my Maggie Holmes papers and embellishments, I found one that had gold in it. So I switched up this white with the flowers. I switched it up for a white with gold flowers because I decide to add more gold accents as I go along with the embellishments, and you'll see as I go. So I always cut a little bit bigger just in case I need, I change my mind. There's always room for me to make adjustments. So I'm going to try and basically replicate exactly the same design on both sides of the heart. You can see that by using the same paper pad or the same designer or the same collection or the same kit, all your colors should match perfectly. So that's a darker, I don't know, coral color goes perfect, matches perfect with the heart, with the paisley pattern on it. Once again, I just, make adjustments. I didn't want to layer the photos and the two mats, that's what I call them, the white and the coral color matte. You see how I'm not putting them straight? I'm kind of offsetting it. I think that adds more interest to the layerings. So there, I'm trying to match the left and the right. As I progress with this video and this project, you will see why it was important to kind of keep everything mirror. Like I'm mirroring what I'm doing to the left of the heart, also to the right. Another technique or little tip that I have for you, don't add glue to the entire area of your photo, because once again, when we are layering, it's all about adding layers behind photos or on top of the photos or on top of other layers. So if you only put adhesive in the center of the photo, you can still attach and tack other embellishments, and you'll see me do that here in just a second. This one here, and this is exactly what I mean. If I would have glued my photo, I would not have been able to lift up that left corner or this right corner here and add this other little accent. But because I only added glue to the center of the photo, I can easily just flip over the corners and add more layerings as I go. The black and white photos that you see on that little tray, those are also by Maggie Holmes. I save you the pain of seeing me fussy cutting all of those. They are one of my favorites to use because they're what I call a ghost flowers. I also have the stamp set that goes with this collection. So once my paper runs out, I don't worry because I can just keep stamping, and I have lots of those ghosting flowers. I want to have a title, a sort of title on for each photo. So here is one that I found that I thought went, again, perfect with the colors and with the theme of the layout. You are loved. And the trick here is I'm going to be adding all these flowers on that center heart on both sides. So as I work on the left page, I turn it over, and whatever I've added there, I try to hide or glue something on top. So you see that white there. So I got some adhesive where I did not want it. So I went ahead and used some baby powder to basically get rid of the adhesive. So I have that white from the other side, and now I added a gold leaf to hide the white that's showing from the other side of the page. I hope that makes sense, but you'll see that as I add one thing to one side, I turn it over and then layer something else on top of that. So you see the white. I'm gonna go ahead, add another gold leaf and hide the white there. I'm going to just kind of keep going, adding more embellishments as I go. And I don't worry too much if anything is going to be sticking out from the side of the journal. I think that adds more interest, and it's just kind of more fun to see all these little bits of embellishments sticking out of the page. Continuing with the theme of the Maggie Holmes collection, there's so many collections that I've used here. I couldn't even tell you how many of them I use and their names. There's just a lot of them. I just pulled out all my Maggie Holmes collections, and I just, because I think they use the same color schemes. Everything just looked so beautiful together. I wanted to use the word love here, but this was kind of interesting. The letters were in little bits and pieces. Can you see how the letter E was cut into 3 pieces? So I used my little tweezers to try and put the puzzle back together. It was not easy at all. I kind of struggled, and obviously you don't get to see me struggling trying to line everything back up, but it did work in the end. I just kind of took my time. In the end, it worked out okay, again after struggling, but I got it done. Tweezers are a crafter's best friend. They just help when you have these tiny little pieces that you're working on. But that's going to be my title for that photo. I think it obviously, the whole theme of this album or this journal is going to be love. And I just kind of flip through this little sticker book and find things that kind of match and go together with everything else. There's just so many things little stickers to choose from that I just kind of had fun, and there's just so many of them. Most of these supplies came from Tuesday Morning, just in case you're interested in it. If you've never heard of this store, it is a great store for crafters because they have they're always getting new supplies, and the prices are amazing. I think this whole entire paper pad of stickers was $6.99. So once again, I'm just kind of going through everything and trying to see what else can I add. Sometimes less is more, but in my case here, I just wanted to add as much bling and as many embellishments as I could. So this is why I chose that other gold background for the photos, because you see there's a lot of gold foiling type of stickers, the little hearts, the gold leaves that I also added. So that's why I decided to switch the first matting behind the photo to the white and gold. So once again, I'm just kind of going over, finding more stuff to add, more embellishments, testing things. A lot of times, you know, you think something's going to look good there, but, you know, always give it a test before you glue and see how everything looks. A few more gold leaves on the other side. I felt like I had gold on one side of the heart and not the other, so I went back and added one more there. It's just looking so beautiful. I can't wait to start working and adding more photos to, you know, fill up this little journal, which I'm not even sure I'm gonna end up giving it to her or not. We'll see what happens if I keep it or if I give it to her. I had this little epoxy little hearts, and they are that pale lilac that kind of went again with the background of the paper as well as with the photos. Just a few more little hearts, again following the love theme. Always go through all your stash. You will be surprised of how much you have already on hand. One few more little flips of the sticker book. I knew I wanted to add the date, so this little sticker here was just perfect. Stuck it there at the bottom, and then just added the date of the wedding, March 22nd of 2019. Love it. It's looking so wonderful. So I'm all done. I added a few little purple hearts to kind of match what you see here, as well as the background on this darker paper. And so it is kind of interactive in the sense that it is telling a story with these two photos. Why I wanted to add these other embellishments and flowers is because if you look on this side, it looks like this is one page showing one photo, a title, and some embellishments. But when you flip it over, you get the exact same effect on this side with the photo, a title, and some embellishments on the heart. But I think that's the surprise and the interactiveness of the page, that you can kind of hide it and it becomes a surprise when you flip it over and see that there's an extra photo there. I hope you like it. I hope you give it a try. Like I said, you can always use quotes instead of photos. Maybe instead of a square photo here, you can have a square with your favorite quotes. You could actually do quotes on both sides, as well as this side over here. And because you made them using the same papers and the same style on both sides, it becomes a very cohesive page. So thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to talk to you here in a little bit and answer any questions that you might have about this project or any other project relating to crafting. And I hope I can answer as best as I can.